Woman was never foreclosed on. She had been late on her mortgage payments, and we reached out to the bank, and they told us they actually apologized for the breaking and entering to change the locks when they weren't foreclosing. Not much recourse beyond that from what I can tell. Still, this might be yet another disturbing sign in the growing problem of property rights that we'll be covering this week and in the months to come. Nancy Jacobini is the woman whose voice you heard on that recording, and she joins us today with her attorney, Matthew Widener. And Nancy, if you wouldn't mind, share with us a little bit of your experience at the time of the break-in.
Well, actually, I was in my room. I had the light on, and it was a very rainy day, and all of a sudden I heard somebody hit the handle like they were trying to get in. And the aggressiveness got even more severe. And I was very frightened. I locked myself in the bathroom. I felt that that was the only protection I had, not knowing who was actually at my door or how many people, or if the person had a gun, a knife, a sex offender. I was just frightened to death.
And had you been given any warning from the bank before this happened, and how far back on your mortgage were you at the time?
No, sir, I'm not in foreclosure. I was not given any warning. I am working in a loan modification, and I actually was perhaps maybe 5 months behind at the most.
Mr. Widener, is it legal for a bank to do this?
It absolutely is not. You know, I want to tell you, it is the Wild West out there right now. Unfortunately, this example here is not unique. I've collected examples from all across the country where these banks are just flagrantly ignoring laws, kicking down doors. I think it's so critical to emphasize that in this case, she is not in foreclosure at all. And again, that is not unique. These banks have become emboldened where now they are kicking down doors. We've had a newspaper report at another example, a quote from one of the presidents of these companies that said, "We're not even fazed by lawsuits anymore."
There's a statement from Alan Grayson, who is the representative, I understand, in your district, from this afternoon in response to your story, saying breaking and entering does not become legal just because a big bank does it. The rule of law must apply equally to everyone. It's long past time to halt this blatantly illegal activity. We need investigations and law enforcement, not coddling of failed institutions. We need justice for all. Did you call the law enforcement officials, Nancy?
I called 911. Actually, when I heard the juggle of the handle of the door, and of course that was my first clue. And what I did was I immediately took my cell phone, went into the bathroom, locked the door, and called 911.
But was there any follow-up to the breaking and entering after that fact?
Well, the 3 deputies showed up. And, of course, then that's when they determined, you know, actually what the problem was.
Dylan, I want to tell you that, again, in experiencing this all across the state of Florida, I've talked with law enforcement officers from the street level all the way up to sheriffs across the state of Florida, and in these cases they determine that no law has been broken and they take no action. And unfortunately, unless the public wakes up and the press continues to do the job that you're doing, they're not going to take action, and these guys are going to continue doing what they're doing.
But isn't the basic implication of the statement that you just made, Matthew, the end or the meaningful compromise of property rights in this country, which is the most basic aspect of what this country was founded on?
You've taken the words right out of my mouth that I've been saying for years now. It's a fundamental breakdown in the rights of citizens all across this country, and unfortunately the leadership from the state and local levels right up to Washington, D.C. are ignoring this, and this is something where the public needs to pay attention, because this is not just people in foreclosure. This is your neighbor right across the street. This could be any viewer watching this program right now, the bank kicking down your door, throwing your property out in the street, and nobody's going to do anything about it.
If you were to look at the political construction, Nancy, through your eyes, having had the terrible experience that you've had, and even look at the segment we did just a few minutes ago as to the amount of money that funds our Senate and our House that comes from the banks, and then obviously the benign treatment that the banks get relative to things like breaking and entering, does it surprise you when you see all those relationships? Do you think they're connected?
Well, I would say that the banks are robbing American people in plain English.
You agree with that, Matt?
Absolutely.
And
look,
what's
if you
the
look
mechanism?
at the bajillions of dollars that are sloshing around among the service among all of the lenders, among all of the institutions across this country right now have emboldened them. And unfortunately, our local judges are not as aggressive against these institutions as they should be. And unfortunately, attorneys general and legislators, congressmen are just now coming aware of these issues. You know, we all need to stand up and start calling on all of our elected officials to pay attention to these crimes and these abuses.
Yeah. Listen, Nancy, I cannot thank you enough for coming out and sharing your story in public the way that you have this afternoon. Matt, thank you, for articulating what you did. Please keep us posted and understand that we here at the Dylan Ratigan Show are firmly focused on the issue of property rights in this country and the government and the large banking institutions compromising of those property rights for any litany of reasons. It'll be interesting to see whether the true conservatives in this country that you believe represent those property rights, Tea Partiers, actually come forward to oppose not only government, but the giant banking institutions that they failed to oppose in financial reform when it comes to the issue of property rights in this country. Still ahead, here on the DR Show, Cenk Uygur joining us.